Okay, so one of the most important things when it comes to getting in shape or your fitness journey is your diet. So when it comes to diet, I like to try and keep it as simple as possible. I'm not a big believer in like fad diets and stuff. I think you need to keep your diet pretty balanced. Like this shouldn't be like, oh, you're only eating this one thing or only eating that one thing. I'm not like a vegan or nothing like that, nothing crazy, extreme. But if you are, that's cool. That works for some people. You want to find what works for you. Like, well, just because like the carnivore diet works for this guy, that doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Which I'm not really like a big believer in the carnivore diet. It can help you lose weight if you're like really overweight, but if you're not, like, you need more micronutrients in your diet. But how I approach diet is in like stages. Like if you have a really bad diet, you want to start just cutting out basically certain things. Like I say start with sugar. That's like the easiest thing. It's not the easiest because it's addicting. It's hard. Everybody slips up sometimes. But sugar is one of those things where it's like, all right, you can cut that out and still eat like a lot of the food you eat on a regular daily basis. Like if you're eating, cupcakes, cookies, stuff like that, you really need to just cut that out ASAP. Just cut out sugar. Once you cut out sugar, you're gonna see just a lot of changes. You're gonna feel different. Your weight's gonna drop. Uh, I mean, that's like honestly step one. If you cut out sugar, it's going to dramatically change just a lot. You're going to see it. You're going to want to keep cutting other stuff out. But I say just start with that. Like start with cutting out excess sugar that you don't need, processed sugars, high fructose corn syrup, stuff like that. And then later you can get into like, all right, cutting the seed oils out, bad carbs, stuff like that. That'll eventually all combine into a healthy diet. But for the most part, I'd say just that, like I said, just cut out sugar. I mean, I know I'm repeating myself, but sugar is like honestly like one of the worst things you can do, like processed sugar. You cut that out, you're just gonna see a lot of improvement in your diet. You're gonna have more like energy without having to, take coffee, stimulants, stuff like that. It's another thing like the excess caffeine, that is bad for your heart. I'll get into that in another video. But along with cutting out the sugar, you're gonna want to use like MyFitnessPal, or if you got a lot of you guys got those smartwatches, something just to get a good idea of what your daily calorie intake is. And if you're someone who doesn't burn a lot of calories, like you're an athlete or like maybe you do construction, hard labor, and you see that you're consuming like 3, 4,000 calories a day, you need to get that number down to under 3,000 at least. And the reason I say 3,000, not 2,000, is because if you get your calorie count down too quick, you won't sustain that. Like your body is not used to it. Like if you're used to consuming 4,000 calories a day, you need to get that down to first to 3,000 or 3,500, and then go down to under 2,000. Because if you don't do that, you won't be able to sustain that. Like you're gonna be really hungry, then you're gonna maybe do that for 2 days. Your body's like, oh, we need sugar, we need carbs. It's basically just telling you need to eat more. And mentally, if you're not strong enough to resist that, which 99% of people aren't, you're gonna fold. Like you're gonna go back to eating 34,000 calories a day. So that's why I say you need to take it down notch by notch. Same thing with like if you're trying to get big or bulk up, and if you're only eating 2,000 calories a day, you need to slowly build that number up. Like next, 1 week you're eating 2,500. Your body and your stomach will adjust to that. Next week do 3,000. The week after that 3,500, and then maybe you get your base calories at 3,800, 4,000, whatever it is. But you got to build your way up or break your way down. So for like fat loss, stuff like that, you got to really take that slow, because I mean, not everybody has to do this, but majority of you, I advise you take it slow. Build down to that 2,000 to 2,800 calorie range, which most of you are in. I'm assuming a lot of you guys aren't athletes, or if you are, then you might need a higher calorie intake. But first, figure out how many calories you burn a day. Just don't change anything. Just live your life how you've been living it, and then just see, all right, if I'm consuming 36,000 calories a day and I'm not burning, if my fitness watch says I'm burning like 2,200, and your my fitness pal after you checked everything you eat says you're consuming over 3,000, you need to get that number down, and you slowly work on that. So I say that's just where you start. Use these resources we have. It's a lot easier nowadays to track what we put in and how much we burn, in our body. So I'd say just use these resources, MyFitnessPal, and then a fitness watch tracker, even your phone. There's a Google Health, Apple Health. Use those. You can track your steps, your activity, stuff like that. Put those to use. So that's about it for now. I say just keep it simple, keep it basic. Try and cut those sugars out. Figure out your calorie intake and then how much you burn, and then try and get your maintenance calories down to 500-600 below what you're doing right now, and then just keep slowly doing that until you're at your base calorie between 2,000 to 2,500, maybe 2,800, depending on what your career field is, what you do daily, and you should be good.